Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Paul Lopez.
And thank you for joining us this morning.
The word of the morning, Valentine.
Or Valentine's. Because we hear that so often in Belize.
Yeah.
But it is a lovely Valentine morning. I am so sorry to tell you that it is a Monday and you do have to get up to go to work. But this cold front just came perfectly timed.
It's set in last night, a bit early in the evening. And somebody said, oh, just a man breeze. But I just felt that breeze.
What does that mean?
Man breeze, strong breeze. Okay. Just put it like that. But that cold front did set in last night and it just felt amazing. And then to wake up this morning and think, oh, you're still here. Happy Valentine. Thank you. And so
here's your Valentine gift for the day.
Felt great as well.
It's just a little bit bittersweet because you do have to get up. And some people have to get the kids ready for school today. You know, Valentine weekend especially is always one I know that a lot of couples celebrate. And so there was quite a bit happening over the weekend. I know a lot of people traveled as well. They did the staycations to celebrate. So we do hope that you had a fantastic weekend.
Yeah, I saw people also going to restaurants, booking their reservations.
Yeah.
Images were all over social media of what people were doing. And I like that this year, Valentine's Day falls on a Monday, which gave persons the weekend, the entire weekend to do what they had planned or decided to do with the person or persons they love the most. And so, yeah, that was.
I'm still stuck on persons, but you know, people give their sisters and their moms and their nieces and aunts and everybody else that they love in addition to their loved ones. That's a great thing to do.
Yeah, so that was beautiful to see it, and today's the big day.
Yeah.
I personally want to tell the guys out there, if you haven't done anything yet for your significant other, your wife, your girlfriend, that person you've went on at least 2 or 3 dates with, do something today. You know, sometimes women might say, oh, Valentine's Day, not mean much to me, not all that special. You could love me every day, not fall for it. Don't fall for it.
Yeah.
Do something regardless of what your budget is. It could be small, it could be big. Just let that person in your life know that they're special to you, that they mean a lot to you, that you love them. That's my encouragement and advice for this day.
Yeah, as a man with lots of sisters and female friends, you know, that I could tell you that much too. Just be on the cautious side, even if they say they don't want to celebrate, and give something.
Give something.
And there's a lot of stuff within budget that you can do. There's some small cupcake treats that people do. They sell the individual rose. These small gestures do go a long way for your loved one as just a reminder more than anything else that they are loved.
And you know, sometimes it's just being present.
Yeah.
Because like taking a Monday evening and say, you know what, I won't hang out with the guys this Monday evening, or I won't go and play dominoes or whatever guys do when in their free time, whatever you do, is just saying, all right, tonight I'll go home, I'll help to prepare dinner, and we'll sit down and we'll have a meal together and talk about how the day was.
That's right. So it is going to be a special day for many. And if you are single, I do know that there's also the opposite side of this day. Indeed. It's called Single Appreciation Day, where you're just happy to be single.
There's that?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
So if you ever find yourself single on Valentine's Day, you celebrate Sad Day. Single Appreciation Day.
Okay, Sad Day. All right. All right.
All right, but it is, like I said, the thing is, we did our Valentine's special on Friday. It was such a lovely
Yeah.
show. April and
Yeah.
John, they hosted, and we had 3 great couples. And we also did the flip side, talking about being single in today's
Right.
day and
I
age.
saw
So,
that.
of course, for us today, it's acknowledging that it is taking place, giving you that final reminder in case you haven't gotten anything yet, and then getting into the business, right?
Right. Indeed.
So let's start off with our eye opener. And that is your motivation to get your week started, and it goes like this. Real love feels good and uplifting, not jealous or anxious, and does not compromise who you are as a person. Often in our lives, we fall prey to the idea of a thing rather than experiencing the thing itself. We see this at play in our love lives and the love lives of our friends or family and even fictional characters. However, very little of what is offered leads us to an authentic experience of love. Real love is identifiable by the way it makes us feel. Love should feel good. There is a peaceful quality to an authentic experience of love that penetrates to our core, touching a part of ourselves that has always been there. True love activates this inner being, filling us with warmth and light. An authentic experience of love does not ask us to look a certain way, drive a certain car, or have a certain job. It takes us as we are, no changes required. When people truly love us, their love for us awakens our love for ourselves. They remind us that what we seek outside of ourselves is a mirror image of the lover within. In this way, true love never makes us feel needy or lacking or anxious. Instead, true love empowers us with its implicit message that we are, always have been, and always will be made of love.
Well, so this is a word for Valentine's Day. How to love, or how love should express itself. There's a verse in the good book that says, true love casts away all fears. Or true love casts out all fears. And simply what the verse is saying is something that I hold true to, is that when you love somebody or when you feel loved by somebody, true love in the truest sense, you are not afraid. You're not afraid to express how you feel.
Yeah.
You're not afraid to bring to the table what you have to the table and to sort of expose yourself. A lot of times when we feel afraid in a relationship or we feel anxious, the fear is the basis.
Yeah.
Fear is the basis. Will they accept me? Will they not accept me the way I am? But to know that you're truly loved is a warm embrace that whereby you know that regardless of what I bring to the table, in terms of my anxiety, in terms of my failures and human frailty, that I will be loved and I will be embraced.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that what you call a warm embrace, that really is what we seek.
Yeah,
and it means that you must be in a safe space where you are comfortable being yourself, warts and all.
Yeah.
And in today's day, I guess that means without filter, right?
Yeah.
So that is one of the things when you enter into a loving relationship, it's important that you're able to know enough about yourself, to know, to recognize enough in the other person, realize that you are not going to change them at all. They may change, but it'll be by their own free will. But you are not going to change them, and that you've come to that level of acceptance. And I think that's the beautiful part, when two people are comfortable enough being themselves together.
Yeah, love in itself is a deep word, you know. Love
tell
in
me.
itself.
I feel like a poem is coming. Paul.
It is a deep word, and I think we've gotten so used to using it so loosely that, you know, you just tell people, I love you, I tell you, I love you, I love this, I love that. But really, when you sit back and you think about what you're saying, when you say love and I love you, you're really telling that person I accept you.
Ha.
You're really telling that person, you know, have I no makeup today, tomorrow, but I love you. You know, I accept that about you. You're telling that person, oh, you might not have money like that person. So whatever that person comes with, when you say I love you, you're really using a weighty and heavy word, and we mustn't take that lightly.
That's right. So with all these expressions of love that we'll hear today, let's hope people keep that in mind.
Indeed.
All right, and moving into our weather update for today, we're going to find out just how long this nice cool front will stick around. And we have our general situation is going to be a cool northerly airflow that will prevail over the area.
Our 24 hours forecast is mostly cloudy with a few showers of light rain along the south coast and offshore today, then some showers, periods of rain, and isolated thunderstorms, mainly over the south tonight.
All right, our winds are moving from the north to northeast at 15 to 25 knots and gusty. This makes for a rough sea state and a small craft warning for strong winds and rough seas. Our highs for today?
Our highs for today along the coast, we're looking at a 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Inland, we're looking at 78 degrees Fahrenheit. And in the hills, we're looking at a low 68 degrees Fahrenheit. And then our lows for tonight, along the coast, we have 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Inlands, 64 degrees Fahrenheit. And in the hills, 57. So those temperatures drop significantly tonight. And our outlook for Tuesday and Tuesday night is for some showers, some more showers, periods of rain, and isolated thunderstorms over most areas.
All right, we want to thank forecaster Michelle Augustin for that update. So there you have it. We have 70-degree weather for today. Nice and lovely.
More rain,
Comfortable.
more cold on Valentine's Day.
All right, with that, we're going to go ahead and shift gears into Eye on the News.
All right, so we have, Marlene, several issues we want to touch on this morning. A lot happened over the weekend. I kind of want to start with yesterday, what happened yesterday in the Toledo district. The Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, Minister Dolores Balderramas Garcia, along with her Minister of State, Elvia Vega, Greg Chuck, the Commissioner of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, as well as Minister Oscar Ricania. All four were in San Pedro, Colombia yesterday afternoon. They held a meeting, about a 2-hour-long meeting where they discussed the free, prior, and informed consultation process that was filed before the CCJ on January 31st. I believe we have some footage of that meeting. About 60 village members were in attendance. And the meeting started basically with Minister Ricania giving an introduction of the entire purpose of the meeting. And after he gave his introduction and he addressed the crowd, Minister Garcia, Dolores Balderramas Garcia, rose to speak. She began her speech by informing the audience of the purpose of the meeting. She then went on to speak about respect between private landowners and the Maya people. She then went on to speak about the government's commitment to ensuring that this consultation process, this FPIC consultation process, is followed to a T in the process of whatever development or is needed in these communities. And then she went on to speak about representation. This is closer on to the end of her 25-minute speech. She went on to speak about representation for the Maya people, first establishing that decision-making in the FPIC consultation process begins at the village level, bringing forth the understanding that it is the villagers who first and foremost gets to decide what happens within their community. She then began to touch on the issue of representation from an organizational level, and we have a bite to play where she speaks briefly about representation for the Maya people on an organizational level. So Maya 1.
One more point, and that is that the government has a responsibility to include all the various organizations of Maya people in the Toledo district. With all respect, the government cannot only deal with a spokesperson for the Toledo Alcalde Association or the Maya Leaders Alliance. We must consult with the representative and advisory organizations of the Maya people throughout the Toledo district, whether it be the Toledo Maya Cultural Council, the Toledo Maya Women's Council, the Quechua Council of Belize, or the Sarstun Temash Institute for Indigenous Management that we call SATIM. We want to make sure that we invite to the table everyone that we can talk. Because if we are hearing only from one spokesperson, and they have not consulted with you, I believe that as a government, we cannot accept that.
Now, I think it was important, Marlene, to highlight that conversation, to highlight that particular part of the speech, because it is at this moment what is at the forefront when it comes to the FPIC consultation process, the whole idea, the whole issue of representation. And I believe that it is perhaps one of Minister Garcia's biggest battle in this term of governance so far, this whole issue with the FPIC consultation process. Now we have a bite from one of the villagers. Before that, it's important to note that within this entire conversation, Minister Garcia noted that the January 1st submission to the CCJ, that's it, that the government does not intend to walk back on that submission, but in fact, they intend to move forward with what they are doing at this time. When we met Minister Garcia and her team in San Pedro, Colombia, that village was the 15th stop in their current tour. However, we'll go to a second clip. This one is from a villager who, in her raising concern, she also had this to say about Maya representation.
What my concern is, I know the MLA has taken it upon themselves and say they represent the Maya people, which in our case in Colombia, they have consulted us now and again. They have went there and said the people say this and that. Now reading this document, I have seen that they are supporting organization which consists of the Quechua Council of Belize, the Toledo Maya Culture Council. Now my question is, who make up this group? Who have assigned these people to represent us? Are they doing exactly what the MLA has done? Will our voice be heard up at national level when it's time to make decision making? Will the alcalde, will they form over a new group to form the Alcalde Association here in Toledo? Will our village council have DAVCO support and members to be there to say this is what the people of San Pedro, Colombia want. Will the alcalde have their voice? This is my concern. Who are these people? Actually, I see a member from the Toledo Maya Council here. She's sitting down in the meeting. But she haven't got up and said, this is what my group is doing, this is what my organization is doing. We actually have 2 people from Colombia sitting in the Toledo Maya Culture Council. I don't know if the people of Colombia know who they are, but they are there representing us. Have we set them? Have we put them there? Who will they represent? Will they represent themselves, or will they represent us at the end of the day? This is what we need to know, and as a community we need to get up and say, you know what? We need to know who is who have set you there. As just like how we elected our government officials, that's the same way we need to elect these people so that our voice can be respected out there. People cannot just come and say, I will represent the Maya people today. I will be part of the Toledo Maya Culture Council. I will be part of the Kekchi Council. That cannot be happening. We, the Maya people, need to get up there and say, you know what? These are the people we want. Because these organizations cannot support, they can go for it. Maybe there is something of interest for them. Or they can go against it because there's something of interest for them. So at the end of the day, we need to be neutral. We need to be the people that decide these are the people that represent us, and we are the ones that put them there, and this is what the people of Colombia want. We cannot let the dictatorship continue here in Colombia, my people.
The issue of representation, again, is important because according to the FPRIC protocol, and copies were distributed to every person in attendance at yesterday's meeting, which was somewhere around 50 to 60 villagers. Within the FPIC consultation process itself, there is guidelines for consulting these groups or consulting these organizations and these bodies.
Yeah.
And basically what the minister is saying is it's important that we hear the voices of all. And what this villager is now saying is that, yes, but how well do these people represent us? Yeah. Who are these people? And so she brought that into question, and of course proposing some sort of democratic process, some sort of elections to select these persons. There was a lot said, Marlene, yesterday, but I did want to raise those issues of representation. Yes.
No, this is absolutely a complex issue, and I want to, for me, I think one of the important points to start off on is looking at the FPIC protocol itself and why it's necessary. The free, prior, and informed consent is necessary because the protocol, that is, it sets out the guidelines as to what will then validate that the Maya communities from these villages, about 40 villages, agree to whatever decision is made to move forward on their communal lands. So it's like your guidelines to say this criteria has been met. There was free, prior, informed consent by the community members or the villagers for something to take place or not to take place. So that's a critical part in moving forward. And I think when you see it that way, you realize why there are very different opinions as to what detail should be included and who are the partners engaged in that consent process. Now, the issue that we hear repeatedly is the MLA, the Maya Leaders Alliance, and the Toledo Alcaldes Association sufficient representatives for that consent to take place, for the consultation for that consent to take place? Government clearly, as we heard from Minister Balderramas, has put their point forward that other organizations should be included. What that villager just said, I think, is even more interesting, because she's saying even the addition, this is my understanding, even the addition of these additional organizations don't mean we're represented. So if we hear more of that, that becomes more concerning. The truth is they'll never be able to poll every single villager on all decisions to be made. And I know that when we had the Commissioner Greg Chuck on the show, that was one of the questions I had. I used the example of, let's say, the Ministry of Education working with the Belize National Teachers Union, because it's a representative of all the teachers, because you can't reach out directly to every single teacher across the country. So representative organizations are a way of kind of easing the process. But now the question is coming up saying, are these organizations, including the ones that government is proposing, are they representing enough?
Yeah. What adds to the complexity of the situation, and I want to add this just before we move on to the next topic, is the fact that there is a separation in the decision making, as I understand it, between the organization, organizational representation, and the community itself.
Yeah.
In that the organization of alcaldes cannot necessarily, according to what I understand, speak for San Pedro, Colombia, and whatever development is being proposed in San Pedro, Colombia. An alcalde in San Antonio cannot come over and say what he or she thinks should take place in San Pedro, Colombia. And so there is
that's
that.
the argument that government has been putting forward
right.
with the association.
Right. There's that village level decision making.
Well, it's an interesting thing because the alcaldes, and it's one of the bright spots that we have in our country, that the alcalde system is recognized, that is utilized, that these indigenous communities have a right and follow through with the right to have their own leader in addition to a village council, which is in all other villages. But their question is the association of alcaldes the best representation? Because while Maya tradition acknowledges alcaldes, not necessarily alcalde association.
Right.
So,
Well,
but I'm sure this will continue. We followed the case of the Maya communal lands through the courts all these years. There's always a challenge in being able to get consensus. So I'm sure we'll have more as time progresses.
and we will have more tonight
Yeah.
in the 6 p.m. newscast. We left Minister Garcia down south, and she continues her tour
Yeah.
today, and I believe she comes back in for a cabinet meeting tomorrow. Moving from the south now all the way up west into the Kaya district, tragedy struck in Belmopan on Saturday night. A very unfortunate situation, Marlene, where a 20-year-old mother, Karina Andrews, lost her life to yet another incident of gun violence. The peace in Belmopan, of course, shattered after Karina Andrews and a group of friends were reportedly in front of a restaurant establishment on Saturday night, about 6 of them, when they, according to reports, they saw this individual walking in and out of the restaurant, and for some reason or the other, that raised their suspicions, and as a result, they decided to get in the van, a white van that about 6 of them were in, and leave the establishment. When they got to the roundabout where Blue Moons is, somewhere close to Cabania, and they were about to cross a speed bump, according to police, a Honda vehicle drove past in an attempt to overtake, but at the bump stopped, windows went down, and that's when they saw the same individual from the restaurant. And the police says that that individual just let loose with a hail of gunshots at the direction of the van. Karina Andrews, who we're seeing on the screen, she was hit, and her injuries proved to be fatal. We understand that 2 other individuals were injured. Everyone else survived, and Andrews unfortunately lost her life. It's always hard when we lose an innocent life. We see the nation in mourning. We see people across the country at this time calling for justice and calling for an end to the violence. Commissioner of Police has called a press conference in Belmopan for this morning, I believe, to address this issue as well as the safety concerns for residents in Belmopan.
Yeah, I think a tragedy all around. The young woman, as a young mother, especially, it is always heartbreaking when you think of a child growing up without their mother, especially as a result of violent crime. But I think the nature and the uniqueness of the crime itself is what's really startled the entire country. This type of complete abandonment of who could potentially be injured when you open fire on a vehicle filled with multiple persons. So even if there was a target, there was always the possibility of collateral damage. We don't know who was the target in this case. We don't have that information as yet. But the fact is that, what if there were people walking by or riding by or a stray bullet went into a home? These types of crimes really do shock us because you realize the potential threat that can exist in just driving home.
Yeah, it's definitely a senseless act, and I believe and I would hope that the commissioner will call it out for what it is. It's a senseless act. This shooter obviously had no remorse in the moment he was doing what he was doing. He had no care for the lives of all those persons inside that van. I would imagine he saw that there was more than one person in that van. I don't know if the target was in that van. I would believe whosoever he was attempting to target was in that van. But it's just a complete lack of remorse, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's another young person who's behind something like this. I understand police is looking for one suspect in this incident.
Yeah, tragic case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so moving on now, just to add that there was also a murder in Belize City over the weekend, which we will touch on within our newscast. But moving on now to some politics, Marlene, we're going from land issues in the south to crime up west, and now some politics, where we understand that tomorrow, correct, is the deadline for submissions for those interested in putting their names up for the UDP leadership. That convention is set for March 27th. We can confirm that Shine Barrow, a representative Shine Barrow, as well as the Honorable Tracy Tager Panton, both put in their names officially as interested parties.
Yes. And last week we had an interview with Senator Darrell Bradley, who said he was doing consultations as to whether or not he would put himself forward as a potential leadership candidate. He said he would decide by the deadline on Tuesday, which is tomorrow. So we'll see if that changes within the course of today or into tomorrow.
All right. And so these are things that we're actively following, things we're actively seeking to give you more details on. And so tonight you can look out for these stories and more in our 6 p.m. newscast, which you can catch right here on Facebook, on Channel 5, and of course on our YouTube channel. That's it for this morning's Eyes on the News.
All right, and time for us to get moving into our show for today. As I said earlier, while it's nice and comfortable in bed, a lot of parents have to get up and get the kids out of bed and get them ready for school.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things that has been happening in the background while we talk about the resumption of classes is that there is a curriculum reform process taking place. In other words, what our children learn in school, what they need to learn, and what we will be adding to the curriculum or taking out. We're going to hear more about that process with the Minister of State in Education about who's being consulted, how far they are, and how it will be implemented.
And in our second conversation, we have joining us via Zoom, Anne-Marie Williams. And she was a past member of Sir Manuel Esquivel's Caribbean Shores Committee. And so she will be joining us via Zoom to do some sort of reflection on the life of Sir Esquivel.
And closing off, a well-known artist in Belize about to release a brand new song. The song is called The Meaning, and we are talking about the one and only Justin Castillo, also known as JCast. We're going to see the premiere of that video in the final part of our show. So we're going to go ahead and take a break, but before we do,
we have a birthday shout out. We do. And we want to say happy birthday to Jefferson Thomas. Jefferson, may you receive all the love you deserve right here today on Valentine's Day. Happy birthday to you from all of us here at Channel 5, Open Your Eyes, and Great Belize Productions.
all right, so we're going to take that break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about the curriculum reform process. So please, stay tuned.
In these trying times, Smart is here to lessen the burden. Smart's reduced roaming rates save you while traveling. Calls back home are a low 35 cents per minute when visiting Canada, the US, and Mexico, or pay as low as 50 cents for calls when visiting countries in the Caribbean, Central, and South America. For the month of February and March, enjoy an unbelievable low rate of 30 cents per megabyte when roaming with mobile data in Canada, the US, Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean. Whether you are a business traveler, studying abroad, visiting loved ones, or just traveling for pleasure, Smart's new roaming rates have got you covered. Roaming in China, Europe, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean is as low as the cost of making a local call. It's that low. Smart's roaming coverage continues to grow, so you can also enjoy affordable roaming rates in several destinations across the globe. For more information on rates to other countries, visit our website or call 1090 for more details before you travel. Smart, bringing people together.
It's almost lunchtime and Alice is getting hungry and forgot to bring cash. She remembers that eCash now has a geolocation feature in which she can easily view the eCash merchants near her, especially restaurants. Her co-workers also ask her to order food for them.
Chicken chow mein, please, and a Coke.
The merchant sends her the payment link. She taps confirm, and within a few minutes, her food is delivered. Alice then views her transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made. Then taps the split the bill button where she selects the unevenly option and moves the bar to the desired amount per person. The request is then sent to her friends. Her colleagues accept the request and are ready to enjoy their meals. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash make Alice's life a whole lot easier.
Introducing next-gen supersonic speed for the ultimate home Wi-Fi experience. New customers can now enjoy faster residential internet speeds of 25, 50, 100, and 150 megabytes per second, as low as $49 a month. Existing next-gen customers will receive an automatic speed upgrade at no extra cost to reflect our new supersonic speed. Count on us to keep you connected with the speed you need at unbeatable prices. Select the internet plan that works for you. Make the switch and sign up today. NextGen, bringing you the ultimate digital experience.
If you're looking for low-cost television advertising, have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you save valuable time and money. Call us today at 223-0146 or visit us at our offices on Pony Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school. If you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
And we're back and moving into our first conversation for this morning. As we mentioned, we are discussing the curriculum reform process. In other words, what our children are learning in school and what they need to be learning in school. We have with us Dr. Louise Abane, who is the Minister of State in Education, Culture, Science, and Technology, and you have been taking the lead on this process. Good morning and welcome.
Yes, good morning to both of you. Thanks for having me, and allow me a couple seconds to first wish you all happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
To also wish my wife and kids who are watching at home, and of course all of our viewers, and in particular the viewers of the Dangriga division.
Yes.
Happy Valentine's Day, a pleasure to be here.
And we are happy to have you as well talking about this process. It's been ongoing for a while, and so it's a good time to find out how things have been going. Let me just, before we talk about the reform process, just a bit of your background. You have been working in education for a really long time. So let's talk about how the experience you had kind of fed into pushing the curriculum reform.
Well, thanks. I'm glad there's a day now that I'm described as being in education for a really long time. So that's a compliment. Thank you very much. I've had the privilege to serve as chairman for the University of Belize. That was between 2005 and 2008. And then I also served as president at Galen University from 2010 to 2014. But since I returned home from graduate studies, I have tried every year to do some sort of lecturing or facilitating courses and interacting with students, and many of them are teachers who are studying in the various institutions. So I've had quite a long number of years of interaction and learning about how the education system works, and hearing ideas of how we can reform, how we can revolutionize our education system. And so now we have this opportunity, this special privilege to work with many stakeholders to be able to finally try to bring some of these things to bear.
Now, when you talk about curriculum reform, the first question I asked you when you came in was, what is the last time that there was a comprehensive review of what our children are supposed to learn in the classroom?
Right, so there hasn't been a full comprehensive review. It's been patchwork, if I may use that term. Just additions and insertions and modifications along the way. And the teachers have expressed frustration by this process, because they said, only 2 years ago, right before COVID, you asked us to make this modification, and a few years before that, another modification. And in fact, that process is what led to what we call curriculum overload. So that was the first thing that we addressed, is to look at the very excessive number of learning outcomes. So as you know, each subject has a certain number of learning outcomes that teachers are to be able to deliver to their children. And when we examined it, it was really, truly excessive. So it proved the point that a lot of the frustration we see being experienced by students, by teachers, by parents, leading to stagnant or declining performance of students is in great part due to this problem of wanting our children to do far more than they can actually do, wanting our teachers to deliver far more than they can deliver. And so this patchwork has been one of the reasons we have had, in my view, and I think from discussing with teachers and principals and stakeholders, it is something that everybody has been saying, right?
Yeah.
You see your kids going to school with, they no longer can handle the backpack, so they have to have their parents buy the carry-on, right?
Yeah.
With wheels.
I think I still
Right?
have back pain from
You
high
see?
school and primary
Absolutely.
school.
So you know, these things we can observe and we can say, but something doesn't seem right, right? And we fortunately, we call these low-lying fruits.
Yeah.
We've been able to address that relatively quickly and easily by reducing the number of learning outcomes and reducing the number of subjects. So learning outcomes we've reduced across the board by between 40 and 60%. And then in terms of subjects, we've reduced those by about 20 to 25%, so about 2 or 3 subjects, both at the primary and secondary level. In this latter case, we have done that only for some pilot schools to observe it, and we're now evaluating that intervention, right?
Now, I want to jump in right there because we all say we're open to the idea of change, and then the rollout takes place and we get a bit scared. What subjects in the pilot schools have been removed?
So we have had a lot of additional stuff that we talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what the approach we have taken is to look at what it is we need to keep.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go back in history, about 20, 30 years ago, primary schools would normally have 7 to 8 subjects. Secondary schools, maybe 8 to 9 subjects. And right pre-COVID, we've observed that we've had primary schools, some primary schools doing 12, 13 subjects, and high schools as well. So we've kept what we all agree are the basics. We've kept language and communication, right? So that's where we do things like teaching the child and observing how they learn to write. They're able to read, they're able to comprehend what they're reading, they're able to communicate based on what they're learning. Then arithmetic and math, so the quantitative stuff, right? Starting base from preschool with just using their little blocks to learn how to count, all the way up arithmetic, which is multiplication, division, etc., moving forward into higher order math, algebra, etc. at high school. That's the second one. The third one, social studies, right? Students need to develop an identity, who they are, what our nation is all about, how people relate with each other in society, etc. So that's social studies. Included in there is history as well. And then science, right? So we all agree that these are foundational courses that we all need. Then now we are looking at the evidence around the world of areas that have been neglected. We're looking at the arts, right? Because we know that we have the left brain and right brain, right? The creative, the cognitive, and many times we don't develop that left brain that deals with creativity, that deals with the right brain that deals with seeing things from a large perspective that you develop, you know, when you do music, when you do art, when you do dancing, performance, and so forth. So that's now going to be a regular subject, not something that you do maybe
Once
just on
a week.
Thursdays or whatever, right? That's the fifth one. The sixth one is sports or wellness, if you will. Wellness. So some schools may have programs that might be, say, football or some basketball and so on, but more in an organized way, so that if you're going to do football, it's not recess where you're just going to kick a ball to each other. You will learn certain techniques. You will learn discipline. You will
So
learn
you'll have learning outcomes for those as well.
Precisely. So,
Okay.
right? So that's the sixth one. Then the denominational schools will obviously have religion, right? That's what defines them. So that would be like the seventh course, right? And then the eighth course would be a course that the school has latitude to decide upon, right? So if you are in a rural community and you want to do an agricultural-based type, vocational type course for your kids, along the lines of what we might have done, say, with REAP in the past, or you're on the island and you want to do tourism, or you want to do a blend, whatever it is, schools will have some flexibility to determine that last course. So all the other courses that have been added on are no longer going to be, they will be integrated into the different subjects.
Yeah.
Right?
I was trying to think of classes that may have been eliminated. There are things like health and family life education. I know that was integrated a few years back. What's the plan with that?
So right, so integration is going to be key. In the sciences and in social studies, a lot of this material will be brought in because, in fact, what was done was to take a certain idea out of social studies, family life, which might have been done in, say, 3 or 4 weeks, and then make that a full-blown course. And so these are the things that now will be integrated back in a seamless way. Maybe this is a good place to add something exciting that, in our view, is going to be a part of the revolution of the curriculum. These are called cross-curricular learning areas. So you will have, for example, communication, and then this brings in the other area of assessment. Communication is normally assessed in the language course, right? But we're going to be switching now from content-based focus where children go and memorize to a competency-based approach where you now will be looking at what children can do, how they apply the knowledge. So it's not just the knowledge itself, but the skills that you need to exhibit based on that knowledge, the attitudes that you are supposed to develop to be able to contribute to society and all that. And so these cross-curricular learning outcomes are critical. You will not only be assessing communication in language, but let us say in math, you have a new approach to teach math, which would be problem-based learning, you call it, or project-based learning.
Yeah.
So you have the kids do a project that is based on the math that they're learning. But then you will ask them to go in front of the classroom
and do a presentation.
So that's where communication comes in.
So it's building in,
So
reinforcing the other lessons as
correct.
well.
And so teachers will no longer have these blinders on, but they need to communicate with each other and be able to develop these cross-curricular areas as well.
What's interesting is, you know, as we progress with technology, we can all acknowledge simple changes that have taken place over time. You know, at one point people learned shorthand, then they learned typewriter, then they learned to use a typewriter, then they learned computer skills. What I'm not hearing is the evolution of the technology today. What about things like coding, which in schools in some of the more developed countries are implemented at a very young age, because it will be the language of the future for our little ones.
Right. So again, integration. In the sciences now, that's where we're reviewing all the material that we've been delivering over the years. We are modernizing all the courses. So in the sciences, we have coding, we have artificial intelligence, we have robotics, we have all of those topics now that are what children should be learning and exhibiting some sort of skills based on that learning. So going back to this huge revolution from content to competency and capability. So in science, because the teachers were so stressed out to deliver so much in such a short time, they barely had any time to create little projects for their kids, right? But now, with the removal of all of this excess stuff, a lot of it, by the way, which were misplaced. So you would have certain topics in Standard 5 that you would probably not need until second form in math and that sort of thing. And so you have science now with these new modern topics to be covered, but these are also more amenable to project-based teaching, to project-based learning. So if you're teaching artificial intelligence or robotics, you have certain things, nowadays you see some of the more progressive schools having their children compete and all that stuff in robotics competition and all that. That's competency. You're able then to judge how well they're able to put certain concepts together and use pieces of machine equipment and form a little robot that can pick up something and all that. Then you're able to assess the competence of how, not just that they know about robotics, but that they also have exhibited the skills to make something into a robot. That's a huge jump. And so parallel to all of this, on the curriculum itself, we are also focusing on revolutionizing the teacher training programs. Because imagine this now, all our teachers now will have to be retrained. It's a new mindset. Unfortunately for the teachers, while there's some anticipation, anxiety at the beginning, they see now that this is really what they have wanted to do themselves. They want to see their kids able to do something, not just regurgitate something, right? And that's a big key feature of this reform.
So what does this mean for standardized testing like PSE? Because let's be honest, when a child hits standard 5, and especially in standard 6, they don't learn anymore. They learn to memorize for the PSE, so they and their schools can look good.
Correct, absolutely. That's where we see one of the greatest weakness of the system we've had. We are training our kids to become great test takers. They become great at PSE or at CXC, but that's not what they'll do in the real world.
Or feel like a failure because they have so much anxiety with testing.
Absolutely right. So PSE is what is called a summative test, a summative assessment. And that's fine. You need certain tests like that. But that's just one tool in the assessment kit. So we have diagnostic tests. So diagnostic tests are there to tell us, okay, where are the primary schools, infant 2 level? What are the standard 4 level? So you give diagnostic tests. For example, coming back from opening schools and the effect of the pandemic, we're doing diagnostic tests so that teachers know where the students are, what are the gaps, what it is that is missing at a certain level. Then you have the summative type of assessments, which is like PSE, these standardized tests. And then where we have not been focusing is on formative testing. That's the kind of testing that is supposed to be informing the teachers, not the students, so that the teachers can improve on their teaching, right? Formative assessment. So it's like, I was thinking that an analogy is the citrus or the cane farmer. You know that nowadays, people are talking to their plants so that they grow and all that. But you imagine a case where the farmer is doing certain horticultural practices to get productivity from their citrus tree. They do the assessment, they see the tree is not bearing, and then they start shouting at the tree. It's not about the tree, it's about the farmer who needs to assess what they are doing to determine what needs to be adjusted so that the tree can be productive. And this is what has not been done enough in the past. And so moving from a content base to a competency base now will require that our teachers also learn how to properly assess formatively, summatively, diagnostically, and use that in a holistic way to be able to do the right things in the classroom.
When it comes to the overhaul of the curriculum, was there a need for modifications based on demographic and perhaps community, or is it a blanket when it comes to learning outcomes?
Yeah, so a whole area of modern revolutionizing of curricula, because that's what most countries are going through who are doing it, is that we have to be culturally sensitive in what we do. A part of what happens is in the traditional factory style, production style curriculum that we've had in the past, we take each student as being the same, when every student is different. In fact, there's a whole area of research now where we're learning about personalized learning, personalized teaching to the student, not that the teacher should be the center of the classroom, but that it's focused on the students. And so a student that comes from a particular background may see things differently, may have issues with English as a second language. All of those things now must be incorporated into the new way of teaching, right? That's very, very important.
Well, that was a question I had about piloting, because there was a pilot before about teaching English as a second language in some communities where English isn't the first language. I don't know if it's ever been rolled out to the rest of the country, but that's what happens sometimes when you pilot something. It just stays in the areas where you've started. Let's talk timeline here. So you're piloting at this moment. When is the expected rollout of the new revised curriculum for children?
Okay, so we have three phases that we're working with. The first phase is what we've done with the overload.
Yes.
So we had consultations from January of last year to about August. The second phase, which we're in now, is being led by a professional steering committee. Okay, we have professionals from across the country in this, and I want to thank them very much. They have been contributing significantly. If we have time, I'd be happy to acknowledge them. And that phase is looking at developing what is called a curriculum framework. So it would be a document, not very long, that will guide the actual people writing the various syllabi. So the syllabi for math at different levels and so forth. They would look at this framework and say, okay, the vision of our country is stated clearly in this framework, and so whatever I am doing needs to be aligned with the vision that we have for our country. These are the kinds of assessments that we need to be doing, and so forth. So that framework is something we've never done before, have a nationally developed framework that everybody can be guided, north, south, east, and west. Here is what we're all doing together, so that we don't have this variation in quality and standards all over the place. The final phase will be where we have sub-working groups that are looking at the particular subjects now and developing each of the syllabi for each of the courses. And one of the great things we've gotten back feedback from teachers is that they've said, listen, we spend an inordinate amount of time at night preparing our units, right? And why don't we have standardized units that we all create together, and we have, say, a website, and you can go there and pick up your course for social studies at whatever level. And then you make your tweaks based on what you need to do, but you can then spend that time to think about your particular students, personalizing what you need to do for them, right? So we're aiming then that by 2023, 2024, we have all come onto the same page as to what it is we will implement, and we implement fully 2023, 2024. Right now, we're piloting the first phase, and then in this new academic year, we will pilot based on the framework. So going into details now into the actual subjects syllabi. So that's kind of the timeline we're looking at.
How is class sizes being factored into the conversation? That's one of the issues, as I understand it.
Yes, and some of these things are going to be hard to change, right? Because imagine you are in a village, you don't have a lot of students in the catchment area, but yet, so you might have lower class sizes.
You
might have
classes
10, 12, and you might have multi-grade setting. Now we know there are some significant disadvantages with having multi-grades, because one teacher has to be, you have a whole bunch of all of them together in the same class. So that's very difficult to deal with. That has to be linked with resources, right? So when we were looking at reducing when we had the discussion on reducing the number of subjects, we had anxiety again from teachers to say, okay, well, I'll be teaching this course that will no longer be required. What happens to me? Am I going to be fired or whatever? So we said, well, let's discuss that. What ideas do we have? So we came to a very important matter, which is that we don't have counselors, that we need counselors in schools, right? And
especially primary level.
So we've come up with the plan that many of these teachers will have opportunities to get retrained in counseling, or retrained in other areas. If they're poor, doing not so well in math or another subject, that teacher can go and assist the main teacher of the class. Or in multi-grade schools that need more teachers, they can be redeployed. So it's for us to be creative. It's for us to get ideas from the teachers themselves on how to solve these problems. And I'm happy to report to you that the teachers are the ones who have the very best ideas on what we need to do, and we're trying to implement those ideas, right?
Dr. Zabanetti, what's the plan on how you get teachers across this country back into training to relearn or unlearn their previous methods of teaching for what you expect to be project-based teaching?
Well, the first thing is communication.
Yeah.
Meeting them, we've started our first round. This is just the first round of face-to-face discussion with our teachers. We just had one on Friday in Toledo. This Friday, every Friday for the next 7 weeks now, we're going to be meeting with teachers around the country. Next one will be Corozal and moving around, sitting with them. And I will tell you that even when we were doing the consultations before on overload, we did that virtually. Teachers, you could see that there was a sigh of relief that there are certain things that they have been agitating for so long that are finally going to be implemented. You also find that it's not just the teachers, but even within the Ministry of Education. We have great professionals in the Ministry of Education, and now they're saying, we have been agitating for this, we have been agitating for that, and now we're happy that we get this opportunity to be able to roll out certain things that have just been shelved. Like, for example, you made the point that there was consultations for English as a second language. Many of these things, thousands and thousands of dollars spent, and then when we reach the point of writing the report, it sits on a shelf. So no monitoring, no evaluation,
no follow through,
even if there is implementation. So that suggests to me that the teachers are, once they understand what we're doing, that it's not just a patchwork, that this is really putting things right side up, the way that they have been agitating for so long, that they will be the first ones to go forward and make sure that they do what they need to do.
How do you bring in the other partner in education? Because they're going to be the most critical. That's parents who grew up learning in a particular way, covering certain subjects, that will then see what their children are doing in school and may very well have many complaints or concerns. How do you get them involved at this phase?
Well, yes, parents are obviously very a critical stakeholder, and we have in consultations met with parents as well. We've met, in fact, the first set of consultations were we had 18 different consultations, including the opposition party as well. Because one question that comes up is, well, we're doing this, if the government changes, what happens?
Yeah.
Well, it has to be that we're all doing this together, and that we can't, that's become sacred, and we can't touch that going forward again, unless it is to improve it, not to destroy it. And so parents have to play a critical role in that. From and I will admit, the limited consultation so far with parents, we've had some.
Well, we don't have parent organizations with schools, not so many.
They're not as organized as they should be. So parents will have to play a more important role. But if we think of ourselves who already have children now and who were in the previous, when I call that, the pre-patch curriculum, where we had 7, 8 subjects and so on, you'd find that many times your teachers were able to spend more time with you because they were not overloaded. And so parents, I believe, from those that I have discussed this matter with, are also showing some relief that, well, we're finally not going to have to do the homework for our children. Right? I always give this little story, which is real. My wife came back from dropping off the kids at school, and she was telling me that after the kids went in, the parents were standing outside, and they were talking to each other and comparing the grades that the parents got on a project. Because the parents stay up late at night to do these elaborate projects that are way beyond what the children can do themselves. So I think removing all of that, we are promoting that for homework, that at the primary level, as you go forward, the homework will increase, but you shouldn't be having more than half an hour to an hour of homework for a child, because the learning ought to occur in the classroom. If it's homework, it's for them to reflect upon what they learned in school so that they could rethink the whole ideas and so on, but it's not for them to take on a part of the curriculum at home, right? That is through the window now.
And it's only built the divide. It's built a deep divide between parents who have the knowledge or the time to sit and help with their children versus children who've had to fend for themselves.
For sure, for sure. The pandemic has shown us that there's a massive gap, right?
Yeah.
And here's another thing, that we are happy for the kids who go to the elite schools. They go there and they're the ones that get the awards and so forth. But if you look at it closely, the majority of those kids have parents who are doing well financially, who themselves went to sixth form and college, and their parents have been able to sit with them. Maybe they have a setting in the family where one parent is able to be at home, the other one is out working. That parent spends time with them. But the majority of our kids don't have that privilege. They come from homes where they don't have, maybe none of the parents are there. And so there's a massive gap that has been exposed, especially with COVID, because these are the kids, the majority, who are way behind, who have lost so much learning because of what the pandemic has done to us. So this is a critical point, right?
While this is, of course, a crucial overhaul, allow me just to divert this a bit to ask. There is also the need for infrastructural development in some schools. We've seen the images. How is the government, the ministry, working hand in hand with these schools to ensure that not only do we have a sound curriculum, we also have a safe space for students to learn? A lot of the deterioration in some of these buildings caused by neglect somewhat over the past 2 years.
Right. So you might have heard about our project on the south side of Belize City, right? And I know many people don't like that term, but geographically, that's where the high schools are. And so that's where we're beginning to roll out our full free education up to the end of high school. And in those four high schools, they are also part of our pilot for the high schools. We are certainly looking at what they need. And it turns out that many of these schools in the impoverished areas are the ones you're talking about. And that's where we need to start. We need to start from those places that are farthest behind and bring them up as far as we can going forward. So it is to prioritize our resources so that we can get these things done. Let me give you a very simple example. Kabe was here 2 or 3 weeks ago. They spent a whole week with us. There was a project that they had sent to us offering free scholarships for kids to go to high school. That was shelved. We brought that out, and now these scholarships will be given to the same 4 schools on the geographic south side of Belize City. So there are partnerships, there are people who want to assist, who knock on the door, and we in the past have been occupied with other things, and we have to take advantage of those opportunities. We have to prioritize our attention to the things that are most needed for our children, right?
I mean, we're running out of time so quickly, but I do have one question that keeps nagging at me. Is a rollout in 2023 going to take into consideration all the learning loss that has taken place in the past 2 years?
It will be a catch-up process, and it will not be resolved in the next year or so. I think that will take another 3 or 4 years for us to be able to do that. But we now have a better chance of doing it, a better opportunity to do it, because we're not going to be confronted with that wall of an overloaded curriculum. That's the first thing, right? And we will now have teachers who will have two pathways. One, we have a teacher learning institute that we had established in August of last year, where we put up virtually various courses. So they will be able to go there to take on some of the new techniques that they will need to have.
Yeah.
But we're also going to be reforming all the teacher training curriculum themselves. So all the schools that are training teachers, those will be changed. And of course that has that you'll see the impact of that farther down, because those are the new teachers that are coming out trained for the curriculum. So by making these changes, we will have a chance to close that gap in a quicker way, in a faster way, than if we had just come back after the pandemic and just continue with what we had before that was not working. So yes, I think that's a great point. We will just have to keep working as vigorously as we can to try to make up that loss of learning for these kids, right?
So let me ask you to close with this question. My niece turned 5 yesterday, so she's just about to start school. What would be the difference in her trajectory if she continued with the curriculum that exists today versus this new updated curriculum that you're hoping to implement?
Right.
What's the difference for the future?
Well, there'll be then I'll have to ask you, there'll be a couple of questions I'd have to ask. Where would she be attending school? And does her parents have the wherewithal to assist her? If she's attending one of these, what I call elite schools, which by the way, all of our schools should be elite schools,
I
right?
agree.
But kudos to them. They have done what they needed to do. But if she's attending one of those schools, she has parental assistance and all that, then she would have done well. She could have still had the chance to do well. But even elite schools in the developed countries, because in our research we found that countries in the OECD, which are the richest countries, have recognized the problem of overload, and they are recommending to their schools to reduce the overload as well. So even our elite schools here, we are recommending, look at your curriculum
But they don't have to roll out the curriculum that you implement.
Well, we are in those discussions because there are a couple of them who have agreed, right? That and I think I could state this because one of the members of the steering committee is from St. Catherine's. The principal, Ms. Tillett, she's a member of the committee, and she is fully on board and has already made some amendments to her curriculum towards reducing the overload. So I think that once people start to see the rationale behind it, they make these changes. But if your niece, if she were in one of the average schools,
well, there's public and private. She would go to public,
right? And now meets what we call an optimized curriculum. We've brought it to where it should be. So it's not that we're shortchanging anybody. We're in fact optimizing what we have. That she will have a greater chance that her teacher will be able to spend more time with her because her teacher is not wasting hours at night trying to do the units. That we're moving from quantity to quality. So we're moving towards teachers looking more in depth at concepts. So we just don't fly over concepts. Teachers will tell you that for years and years, they have this amount of learning outcomes and they have never been able to deliver it because it's just too much. So now that we're at a place where it makes sense, they can then spend time to go in depth into concepts with their students and then identify students who are slower in other areas and faster in other areas and make the adjustments for them. So I would think that your niece in one of those schools would do far better learn. She will enjoy coming to school. We should see down the road a reduction in dropouts because a lot of the dropouts is frustration. Kids come to school.
They fall behind.
Yes, and then the assessments are punitive, right? They're summative and then it's all about you. Hey, you never make one certain grade. Rather than the teacher asking, well, why is it that this child is not where everybody else is at, right? And so with these changes, I believe that your niece and other kids will want to come to school and will perform better. But I don't know if I will get a little closing because I have a little something to say.
All right, if you can, because we are out of time.
No, I want to wish my brother dog who his birthday today.
Oh, that means you have to sing it?
Well, I don't know. What, sing happy birthday?
Yeah.
Oh boy, I need a guitar and some drums. Next time around.
All
but
right.
thanks for having me.
This is only, I mean, this is just rushing through the main points. And we do hope that we can come back and really flesh out some of the substantial changes, because it's a big deal.
Yes.
And we know that a lot of parents watch our show and they want to hear and understand.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break.
And when we come back, we'll be talking to Anne-Marie Williams, who will be reflecting on the life of Sir Manuel Esquivel. Stay tuned.
Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor and you'll be 35% more productive. At Fulltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
The ministry is collaborating with SpeedNet Communications to have a vaccination campaign for children ages 12 to 17 years. Children who get vaccinated will get a chance to win fabulous prizes, including backpacks with supplies, Nintendo Switch, tablets, book tuitions, and MiFi with 3 months data. Only children 12 to 17 years old can participate in this smart and Ministry of Health and Wellness raffle. At vaccination sites, each vaccinated child, upon being vaccinated, will receive a ticket to place their name, age, date of birth, BHIS number, and contact information on, which will be filled out by a parent or legal guardian. The sooner a person vaccinates, the more chances he or she will have to win. Get vaccinated, please. Vaccination saves lives.
I chose Galen because of its strong reputation.
Great scholarships.
I came because I can take all my classes online.
It is what I need to take me where I want to go.
To learn more about our various programs, visit our website at www.galen.edu.bz or email us at admissions@galen.edu.bz.
And come soar with the Galen Eagles. If you're looking for low-cost television advertising, have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you save valuable time and money. Call us today at 223-0146 or visit us at our offices on Pony Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
And we'll be back in a few, So stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us. And we're back.
Yes, and we have with us, joining us via Zoom, Anne-Marie Williams, who will be giving us a reflection of sorts on the life of Sir Manuel Esquivel. Anne-Marie, good morning.
Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Marlene. And thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, such an important conversation at the passing of Sir Manuel Esquivel. We understand that you worked closely with him. Would you give us some sort of understanding as to your working relationship with Sir Esquivel?
Okay, in 1993 to 1998, I served on his divisional committee. That was Caribbean Shores. And also, I was the editor of the People's Pulse at the time, which was the party organs newspaper. And so we had very close ties, both as the editor and serving as a committee member. And I was also a captain for Polling Area 3, which was the area that I lived in Caribbean Shores. And so, yes, we had a number of interactions.
What are your initial thoughts or initial comments when somebody asked you about Sir Manuel Esquivel? What is the immediate response that you give?
Well, I always say, and if people are avid listeners, when I do political analysis for elections, I always refer to him. He was a quintessential politician. He had the characteristics that all politicians, and particularly those who aspire for party leadership, should have. He was highly intelligent. He was a scientist, so to speak, a physics teacher at St. John's, and he was organized. He honest to a fault. He was very meticulous and methodical. Took time out to do the things he did, and always thought about people. Never the kind of politician who would say, "Oh, well, I'll just tell her that. I'll just tell him that to get him away or to get her away." No, he was really thoughtful, and he didn't tell you the things that you wanted to hear, but he told you the things that came from his heart, the things that were true. Today, a number of people say, "You know, the politicians lying."
Yeah.
Well, I find generally Belizeans like when people lie to them. I find that.
Yeah.
And he was a person who would tell the truth.
Yeah.
At all.
That would have been my next question, just because my generation and people in my age, we were perhaps a bit too young to remember Sir Manuel Esquivel in his time of leadership. I was born in the 90s, early 90s, and I was very young. What, in your working with him, in your coverage of his work, what would you say were those characteristics, and I believe you mentioned some, that sets him apart or would have set him apart from politicians and leaders of today that myself and my generation know about?
Okay, let me say, with all the accomplishments that he had done in 1984 to 1989, when the party first won, and then in 1993, he was a person who, I just heard Minister of State Zabani saying that they would roll out free education to some of the high schools on the south side. Well, Manuel Esquivel was a person who said, it is unfair that parents who have money could get a better education for their children as opposed to those who don't have the same amount of money. And we would remember that it was Manuel Esquivel who brought free education to secondary schools and also to sixth form. Because it doesn't matter how many people drive fancy vehicles. It doesn't matter how a country operates. When you have an electorate that is not educated, and a good education is the hallmark of a country. And it doesn't have to be formal education. We're talking about skills training too. If we look at the German model, you don't only help somebody to learn and to teach them how to learn, but you also teach them how to do. So the UDP also established the first Center for Employment Training. And so it was academic education along with TVET type of education. And so that was very, very important to him. And I remember he said, we brought free education and then the school started jacking up fees and putting in ancillary fees for them to get extra monies. And then it cost the parents. That made him very, very disappointed because he did something that no other politician or leader at that time was thinking of doing. And then I remember the rural electrification project just before 1998. He electrified the whole area of oh boy, it's eluding me now. But that whole Belize rural south area, Gales Point, Manatee area. And all the people had to do was to go and pay a small fee to put in their light. And he did all those things. Talk about the Southern Highway, starting with the paving of the Southern Highway in Belize City. We look at the hospital. In the 1990s, he started the conversation around health reform. He said that it's a crying shame that Belize doesn't have a modern hospital, state-of-the-art, up-to-date. And so the health reform conversation started with NHI also saying that people who have the money to pay for healthcare should pay for those who don't have the money, those who have to pay, because if you don't pay for a service, then there's no service. And that was his idea. And he started that conversation and eventually established HMH in 1995. Unfortunately, they lost the elections in 1989, and so the National Health Insurance was actually established by the PUP. But he started those conversations early days in the 1990s because he thought the health and the education of a nation were very, very, very important.
You know, in his passing, and if I reflect even with the last interview we had with his wife, Kathy, about her book, Still Waters, it seems to be a recurring theme where people speak of him and say he was not really a politician. He wasn't going to entice people with promises and words, and in fact was probably more pragmatic than most expect politicians to be. Why do you think, given that, especially what we see with politicians now, that he was still successful, even though he wasn't making all the lofty promises?
Well, he was clearly ahead of his time. He was Belize's Michael Manley. I really felt Michael Manley of Jamaica was ahead of his time. And I saw that in Manuel Esquivel because he was successful because he tried to put himself in the shoes of the electorate, looking at the things that were sorely needed in Belize. If you look back, especially 1993 to 1998, the country really had a boom in infrastructure progress and development. The country really started to look up, as you'd say in everyday parlance.
Yeah.
There was the hospital, KHMH in 95. There was the Central Bank building in 1998, just a few months before the elections. It was open. There was cruise tourism came to Belize because of the UDP. Then I made some notes here so I would not have
forgot to highlight. But can I just...
University College of Belize actually came in because of the UDP, the Rural Electrification Project, and all those things. So he looked at the needs of people vis-a-vis the needs of the country and was all about development and progress.
And it's definitely so great to have your personal stories to share so we can know more. But one of the things that I know is always brought up anytime we speak of his leadership is the retrenchment around Christmas 1995. Talk to us about
1997.
97. Okay, I'm sorry. But it is always one of those stories that followed him, one of those decisions that followed him. Put that into context for us. When you talk about that term being one where there was so much success, talk to us about how that was a pivotal moment as well.
Okay, we would remember that when Manuel Esquivel took over from, it's difficult to talk about the retrenchment without looking at 1984.
Okay.
When the UDP first came to power in 1984 to 1989, the country was in a recession, and he really had to take the bailout from the IMF and everything, and it went on. So they were really hamstrung in 1984, and up to when they lost the election in 1989, the PUP didn't retrench anybody, but the wage bill was already ballooning and things were bad. It was 84 to 89. There was even talk of a devaluation, and so I remember we having a meeting, and he said, you know, this is difficult and this is hard, but this is what we have to do and what needs to be done. Where I think it went wrong is that he didn't, to me, from my perspective, he didn't take on the retrenchment as he should have. Well, he said he had competent public officers, he had competent PSs at the time, and he gave them the ability to make the list of the some people who were almost retired and other people. And we always say that there is where the thing went wrong, because a lot of people were put on the list who were not supposed to have been on the list, and he trusted the people who made up the list. And it was a bad time. They actually said that, you know, we should do it this time, and it was just before Christmas. And with all the good things he did, all the good things, it will always be overshadowed. You will think about it in light of the 800 people that were retrenched just prior to Christmas. But we always felt that he was messed up from inside. Some of the same public officers that he trusted, they never advised well as to when it should have done. By any measure, it would have been difficult and it would have been hurtful. But I always think that you could have done it at a different time in a different way. So with all his accomplishments, that retrenchment, that was his Waterloo.
Would you say that is what eventually caused him to lose the next general election?
Well, that helped, along with the introduction of the consumer tax, VAT, the value-added tax.
Yeah.
And those were his Waterloo. But at that time, he said, look at VAT. This is what had to have been, this is what we had to do, because the country, economically, the country was strapped, and everybody knew. He wasn't the kind of politician who would have gone into corruption and done this and can't account for that. No. So those were the things he did. And I remember when he was featured in the global publication Who's Who, a publication for executives and professionals who are making a difference in the global market space. He was the one who said they asked him about the choices he made and everything, and he said, you know, he did what he had to do, and if it cost him the elections, you know, like so be. And I remember interviewing him just before the elections in 1998 too, and I asked him what is it that he would want the Belizean populace to know about the tough decisions he had to make and his style of leadership. And he said, you know, Anne-Marie, that's very easy. I may not have done the politically expedient thing, but I've always done the right thing for Belize and Belizeans. And I could rest well in the night on that because that was who he is.
Now,
that was who he was, yeah.
Yeah. And I'd love to use that as kind of, you know, each leader will have a definitive style and definitive moments, positives and negatives. And we do have a generation of voters now who, as Paul cited, you know, will not remember him as a prime minister. What do you think should be the takeaways from his time as the leader of the country? What characteristics or lessons or traits should be what he's remembered by?
He was the kind of person who was very definitive in his actions, very precise and precise in that he was true and he was very, very sincere in his undertakings. That is an important quality, his sincerity. Like I said before, he will not tell you no and turn around and say, oh, you know, I never sure, so I tell her no. And he will not tell you yes and say that I didn't say that. He was a man of his word. And we really cannot be full-fledged, competent adults if we're not true to our word. And that is an excellent trait. Next, he was people thought sometimes that he was stern, but he wasn't always stern and unforgiving. I thought he was very forgiving because some people may remember that he had some rogue ministers in the first year of his tenure. And those rogue ministers went on. Well, he had those rogue ministers went on to continue to give trouble, and that was part of it too. But he was conscientious. He was honest, as I said, and honest to a fault, not just honest. He was decisive. He was a visionary. He had a big picture of what he thought Belize should be and what Belize should be like, with a strong economy and having good fiscal reserves. He was that kind of a person. Yeah. So those are some of the traits. And he talked about transparency. He always tried to be transparent. We would remember during his tenure, corruption was not a word that was floating around like in the last tenure of the UDP. I mean, that was almost a no-no. I'm not saying it didn't happen. But talk about it in your face in the last administration. Yeah. And then he was conscientious. And what people don't know, he had a sense of humor. People look at him and he was always serious and things like that. People think he never had a sense of humor. But if you got close to him, you knew that he had a sense of humor. He was always, I remember when we used to go campaigning only to go to specific people who would want to speak to him during my campaign and other people's campaign. You would always make a list of people who want to see the prime minister for whatever reason. And I remember accompanying him to different houses and so. And one evening there were a group of boys in Coral Grove just shooting the breeze and everything. And one of them just hailed me and like making noise, right? But they recognized me from television like that. And I said, boy, what would I do with him to Mr. Esquivel? Because the guy looked at me and the guy said, you know, he will marry me. So I said, under my breath to him, well, Mrs. Esquivel was along too. And he said, I don't know what you do with him, but I know that you would divorce him the next day. And he had that sense of humor, not the slapstick kind, but the more elevated sense of humor. But he was he was warm, he was conscientious, he was even-tempered, good-natured, even-tempered in that I've never seen him mad, and I've been around him for quite some time in difficult times. My first and only ride on the BDF Defender came with Manuel Esquivel, because when I edited the Pulse newspaper, I used to go along with him on tours, take photos and like that. And he had a flyover when they were looking at shrimp farms and doing more shrimp farms and agriculture in the southern part of the country. Yeah. And we had a flyover during, I'm not sure after which hurricane was it, but I went along with him, with Captain Lizama. He was a pilot, and had to sign away my life because I have to sign up. And I remember him saying, "You need to sign the paper." And Maria said, "Why am I signing this paper?" He looked at me and he said, "Well, it's like signing away your life." I said, "What?"
Just in case anything happened, of course.
Yeah, he looked at me and he said, "Nothing will happen, but just sign away your life here." So, but those were some of the moments that I will always remember. You know.
All right. Well, Anne-Marie, unfortunately, our time has come to an end where this discussion is concerned. But we do want to thank you for taking the time out this morning to be with us to have this discussion. Well,
okay. Thank you very much, and thank you, Marlene.
Sure. Yeah. So, Marlene, just to note that the government of Belize, they have scheduled a memorial, a state memorial for Sir Manuel Esquivel for Wednesday.
That's right.
After a procession, that's sometime on Wednesday afternoon. And so that's definitely something we will be covering on that day. So, but with that, we will be taking a short break. And when we come back, we have Jay Cass with us, and he will be introducing his new song right here on Open Your Eyes. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss that.
Digi, the premier name in voice and data, is also the country's leading provider of innovative services and solutions for small business and enterprise. At DigiBusiness, we offer solutions, tools, and applications to support your business needs. Reduce costs, improve efficiency, and excel in a changing world where no idea is too big and no task is too small. From technology advising to design implementation and management, our team of qualified solution sales and specialists can develop a reliable and robust infrastructure, allowing you to spend more time on what matters most, your business. Visit us online to explore how DigiBusiness innovative products and solutions can help your business reduce costs and improve efficiency.
Why should you wear your mask? To protect myself. My friends. My family and others. I wear my mask because I love my grandparents. With so many reasons to wear a mask, we continue to advise persons to wear a face mask properly, covering both nose and mouth. Together, we can keep Belize COVID-19 safe.
Your life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank Contactless MasterCard Debit Card. Introducing our Standard Debit and MasterCard Platinum Debit Cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
If you're looking for low-cost television advertising, have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you save valuable time and money. Call us today at 223-0146 or visit us at our offices on Pony Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out. Welcome back. As we said, we were going to be joined by Jay Cass, who is premiering for the first time. That's what premiering means. Right here on Open Your Eyes, his brand new single. Jay Cass joining us via Zoom.
Good morning.
Sir, how are you?
Good morning, everyone. I'm good. And you?
I'm doing fine. It's the Day of Love, and we understand you have the voice of love, the voice that everyone wants to hear today. Tell us about this new song that you're premiering.
Well, this song, of course, is a love story, but I wanted to. The name of the song, by the way, is The Meaning, right? And I wanted to talk about. I don't want to talk about the sweet side of love today, because Valentine's Day, yes, everybody expects that, everyone will beat someone and think, but I wanted to touch on the other side of, for the people that might not have someone or not feel, that they have, that kind of connection, at least I want them to relate to something too, because they have feelings as well.
Ooh, did you just say that you came out with a Broken Heart album or song, I should say?
I would say a Broken Heart album too, because this song is on the EP that I brought out like a month back, a month or two back, called Gone Are the Days.
Well, let me tell you, the broken-hearted always need an anthem, and it's whatever will express the depth of pain that they are feeling. So you're saying today's song, it's not so much about how much you love them, it's about how much you wish they loved you?
Yes, technically it's still about how much
This is a personal song.
Let's say it like that. How much I love them, but at the same time, I don't want to give away too much about it, to be honest.
Well, I'm wondering how much of this is a first-hand account?
Wow, okay, like 98% of it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right, sir.
The intrigue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's where the genuine songs come from,
Yeah.
right? That's where the genuine music comes from. Your
Look at this
personal
bro code, right? Paul is coming in for the save to try to get you out of this conversation.
Of course, come on, man.
Yeah.
But that's where we get the music. So I'm definitely excited to hear this song.
Justin, I want to hear the song. We're going to get into it in just a few, but I want to hear what you're up to. I understand that you're performing and mostly in Keycocker now.
Yes. I actually live out here now, so I'm doing a lot more gigs, and from versus the last time I was on the show, I'm doing far more. I'm far more consistent with the live performances, so I'm gaining a lot more experience. Just being out there doing what I love.
And are you able to do your own music?
Yeah, actually, it's funny, right? Because sometimes I go on the gigs and people out like tourists, of course, right? And they would say like, "Oh, play your song, play this one, Streets." And I was like, "How do you know about that, right?" And they were like, "Well, some of my friends, out here that I met, recommend your music to me, and we saw it on Facebook, we saw it on the Keycocker page, and people just like it, so they asked for it."
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great feeling that you're able to have requests for your own music.
Yes, and it's, I don't know, I still can't get used to it.
Yeah.
No. Justin, we have seen you over the years just keep on growing and pursuing your music, investing in your music. And I think one of the things that you've always shown us is that you are always open to adapting to different genres. What would you say is the genre that you're most comfortable with right now? Where's your passion at the moment?
Honestly, that's quite a hard question for me to answer, because I can feel R&B today, and by next week I'm feeling disco, or or the other day, the day right after that, I'm feeling probably reggae or blues. I'm all over the place with it. So I just tend to do what I feel at the moment.
How much time do you spend writing and perfecting your craft each day?
Each day, honestly, I can't say that I am writing a song every day, right? Because for me, at least, something really has to my feelings have to be aligned with what I mentally want to do as well. To say, what, this is worth a song. To me, it has to be worth. The experience has to be really worth it for me to want to write about it. And I only write about things that I really go through, to be honest. So for me, it's hard. I just can't say, I'll just write this song, and it's different for me,
Yeah, I consider you perhaps to be one of the leading voices when it comes to the soft and soulful, emotional and impactful songs, especially where production and video recording, writing, producing an EP and several songs are concerned. We now have a space where several artists with the same soft, mellow, feel-good type of music, we now have several artists coming up, following in the footsteps that you've walked. How do you feel about where we are, the space we are in right now with the type of music that you bring forth?
I think the bar is raising every so often, and I think that's the way it's supposed to be. I don't know if I have such a big, input on that, right? Because I'm just doing what I love, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I'll always try to outdo myself and just bring the best. And if that encourages others to do the same, then I guess I guess I'm doing something good,
All right. So
So this latest song that we get to reveal here, the meaning, is from your EP, Gone Are the Days.
Yes.
So I know you've sent it over. I want to make sure it's all queued up and ready to go. Give me a thumbs up if we're ready. So
We
Justin
are.
can give the official introduction to his latest single. All right, we're ready. Go for it, Justin.
So this is my latest single off the album Gone Are the Days, called The Meaning.
Woohoo.
I knew the end would come somehow, some way. Come down in my love. There's no escape from my loneliness. Be the source of my happiness. Even if it's just for a moment. 'Cause one day you leave me. So I'll take what I can get from you and live my life with no regrets, as long as it's with you. Because we're in love, and it don't mean a thing. But for you my heart is beating. I'm needing your touch. You got me in my feelings. What is the meaning of this? What is the meaning? 'Cause we're in love. It don't mean nothing. For you my heart is bleeding. I'm needing your touch. You got me in my feelings. What is the meaning of this? What is the meaning? And it's so crazy to think that we would make the link. 'Cause you've been giving me a hard time ever since the day I laid my eyes on you. Baby, like the stars, you're so damn beautiful. This is too good to be true. Please let me have this moment. 'Cause one day you'll leave. So I'll take my time with you. I'll take my time with you. But just because we're in love, it don't mean a thing. For you my heart is bleeding. I'm needing your touch. You got me in my feelings. What is the meaning of this? What is the meaning? Because we're in love. And it don't mean a thing. For you my heart is bleeding. I'm needing your touch. You got me in my feelings. What is the meaning of this? What is the meaning? Oh, no, no, no. Oh, no. Oh, oh,
Ooh,
Wow.
Justin.
There you have it.
I mean, if somebody woke up on the brink of tears right now, they're mopping up the floor with the tears that just fell. Wow, such a powerful and emotional song.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That song immediately gets you in the mood.
I know, you get cold feet immediately.
Listen, right? I was prepared to dim the lights, light a candle, and pop a bottle of wine, and just kick back and, all right.
Yeah.
Take that out. It's beautiful.
So 98% based on true feelings.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I can sense the emotions there. Justin, tell us, what's the hope with this song? Who do you hope is going to really connect with it today and beyond?
I wanted to connect with everyone, because I'm pretty sure everyone can relate to this in some way. It might not be the exact situation, but the feeling, at least, that they'll get when they hear it will be somewhat familiar to them.
Yeah.
What's the lyrics there at the chorus where it says, "Just because we're in love, it doesn't."
And it don't mean a thing.
And it don't mean a thing.
Yeah.
Continue.
For you, my heart is bleeding. I'm needing your touch. You got me in my feelings. But what is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of this?
So you love her, but you can't be with her.
Yes, basically, right?
We've all been there.
Yeah.
We've all been there. That's a tough one to deal with. Now, this is, as you said, just one of the songs on your latest album. Are you going to be working on a music video for this?
The music video will be releasing at 9 a.m. today.
Oh,
Ooh, all right. I'm looking forward to that.
Yes. I think that's a preview of the video.
Yes, that's it right there.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Drowning there in that love. Look at
Wetting
that.
the guitar, destroying it.
All right.
That was a pretty hard scene to do.
Was it?
That was a pretty hard scene to do.
Were you good at floating before?
I don't know how to float, and I found out that a guitar doesn't sink. So I was like, all right, I learned a lot of things that day.
It's an exciting video to look forward to.
So 9 o'clock today on your Facebook page?
No, on my YouTube.
On your
JCAS.
YouTube channel, JCAS.
J.cas.
We get to see this music video, Behind the Meaning. All right.
Yes, and I just want to big up Red Rose for actually shooting and editing the video, and Director J, for being a part of this whole project, and everyone else that was involved, all these small local businesses out there in San Pedro, because that's where the video was done, entirely in San Pedro, and a lot of people came together, to make it work, and I'd just like to thank all of them,
All right. Well, we're looking forward to it. We've heard the song. Now we get to see the video at 9 a.m. this morning, dropping on YouTube on JCAS's page.
That's 20 minutes away, Marlene.
All right. That means we got to wrap it up so we can log on, right?
Right.
But Justin, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. It's a pleasure all the time.
All right.
All right, so with that, we'll take our final break, and then we will be right back to wrap up the show.
What is the meaning? Because we're in love. And it don't mean a thing. For you, my heart is bleeding.
It's almost lunchtime and Alice is getting hungry and forgot to bring cash. She remembers that eCash now has a geolocation feature in which she can easily view the eCash merchants near her, especially restaurants. Her co-workers also ask her to order food for them.
Chicken chow mein, please, and a Coke.
The merchant sends her the payment link. She taps confirm, and within a few minutes, her food is delivered. Alice then views her transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made. Then taps the split the bill button, where she selects the unevenly option and moves the bar to the desired amount per person. The request is then sent to her friends. Her colleagues accept the request and are ready to enjoy their meals. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash make Alice's life a whole lot easier.
We have been a partner with Smart for over 10 plus years. We have a full Smart plan we use as our major driver for our business. We have a service that rolls over in that if you call one and it is busy, it rolls over to the next line. So once you call us, you can get us at any time. Before we got this Smart service, we were paying upwards of nearly $2,000 in phone bills. Since we've had our Smart service, we pay an average of about $600. So we've had tremendous saving, more than 50%. For the businesses, if you want to save money, switch to Smart because it is far more cost effective and the service is excellent.
Smart continues to be innovative in bringing new technology and meaningful savings during these challenging times to businesses across Belize. Sign up for our VoIP technology or broadband packages and save more.
If you're looking for low-cost advertising, have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you save valuable time and money. Call us today at 223-0146 or visit us at our offices on Pony Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
We're back. What a fantastic show today.
Time just went by so fast in all three conversations. Of course, we began with talking to Dr. Zabani about the Ministry of Education's work as it relates to curriculum reform.
I am so excited that this work is ongoing. I think it's long overdue.
Indeed.
I do hope that they get the chance to get everyone up to date, including parents, because they're such a key partner in education. And the ideal goal here is if we have a format that is not working for all, or not preparing our children for the future that we know they're going to have to face, then there definitely is time for us to be able to tweak and ensure that they are better prepared to face adulthood. So the curriculum reform is ongoing and the consultations do continue. They're starting to pilot in some schools. So it sounds like the teachers are very much on board. As I was telling him during the break, I think it's really interesting because what people don't realize is that teachers spend all the time before work planning, and then at school implementing the plan, and then after school checking all the work that they have given. So it's just a whole day consumed with preparing for class. Reducing outcomes and having plans accessible in a bank really will minimize some of that work.
There's definitely a move in the right direction, and I can see if implemented correctly and goes according to plan, the benefits over the next decade, over the next 2 decades. A lot of what's happening right now, a lot of the experiences I've had as a child, as a teenager, will be a thing of the past, and we'll be able to move into a brighter future, more promising future where education is concerned. So very important curriculums and the role they play in learning.
All right, and then we also want to say thank you for Anne-Marie Williams for joining us this morning. Of course, she shared her experience in working along with the late Right Honorable Manuel Esquivel. We know that in his passing, there is time for us to be able to reflect on his contributions and just what he will be best remembered as a former leader of this country.
Yeah, and then in our final conversation, of course, we had to cap things off with Valentine's. They have been singing it from the beginning of the show, and of course, J-Cast came in and joined us to sing it like no other person can here in Belize, and I would even venture to say across the world. J-Cast introducing us, premiering right here, his new single, The Meaning. Such a beautiful song, and the video, the visuals to that song will be released in the next 13 minutes, 9 a.m. right there on his YouTube channel. So you want to go in front of your computer and just stick around on J-Cast's YouTube channel to see the meaning, the visuals.
I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely.
So if you're watching us on YouTube, just jump over to his page after this, j.cast. If you're on Facebook, go on over to YouTube. And if you're on your television, jump on your phone or your tablet or your computer and check it out for yourselves. Or, hook it up to your TV. That's what most people do. And watch it there live. Very talented Belizean artist unveiling this music video today. And man, that song, it's the mood that it puts you in. I think it's so beautiful. He's such a great songwriter and such a great performer. So best of luck to him. And please do show your support by watching and sharing and subscribing to his channel.
Yeah, we did begin our Valentine's celebration from Friday. Like you mentioned in the early parts of the show, we began with the morning show.
That's right, or Valentine's special.
Our Valentine's special, Valentine's. And from there, from through our Valentine's special on Open Your Eyes, we had a couple from Belmopan who won an engagement ring.
You got to follow that story.
Mr. Augustine and Miss Stevens, they are a beautiful couple. It's such a beautiful love story. They met some 2 years ago, and in the middle of them planning for their engagement and wedding, Miss Stevens was diagnosed with a form of cancer. And if you understand how expensive dealing and treating cancer is, that's where she had to invest her money. That's where he had to now refocus his plans, and so their plans were altered for a while. Thankfully, Ms. Stevens is now in remission after receiving all their treatment. And when Open Your Eyes launched this competition and asked for stories, they gave their story and they won. So on Friday, I followed them to JEC, where a lot of the men are lined up outside right now for those last minute gifts. And we followed them in there where she was given the opportunity to just select from any ring. She's like, sir, I don't know the guideline, I don't know what to do. And the lady are like, you just pick.
Wow.
You just choose one. And she's like, all right, I'll bring them out, make I say. And I'll tell you, Miss Stevens is not a picky woman. She laid her eyes on this ring and she's like, that's it. It was at the first instance, so like that the ring, and she got it.
Very decisive.
Very decisive.
Yeah.
And so that's the ring she got. And this was a little short emotional piece in there where Mr. Augustine,
he didn't get on his knee.
He didn't get on his knee, kind of like bent down like he was going down, but probably like too old for this.
It was a tight space.
It was a tight space.
We give you a,
but
give you a little pass there.
He did ask her, baby, will you marry me? And she was like, of course. And then he put on the ring, and that was beautiful.
Such a sweet story. And I do want to say, the part that didn't get covered. And we want to thank, it's always great when we have good partners who work with us. JC offering this free ring so that we could be able to have this as a part of our Valentine's special. But I do know our producer tells us just how emotional they were when they found out they were the winners because, you know, as you said, obstacles come your way. You have a plan, obstacles come your way, and you battle through it together as a couple. And then you're able to still provide something that they wanted to a long time ago. So that was that moment, and you got to capture it.
Love truly conquers, Marlene.
All right, but that's it. That's all the feels you get from us for this Valentine's Day. We got to wrap it up. If you would like to contact us, send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com.
Or you could find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ, or on Instagram at OYE Belize.
And remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
And start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your heart. Valentine's.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, Belize.
From my loneliness, be the source of my happiness, even if it's just for a moment. 'Cause one day you leave me, so I'll take what I can get from you and live my life with no regrets, as long as it's with you. Because we're in love, and it don't mean a thing. But for you, my heart is beating. I'm needing your touch. You got me in my feelings. What is the meaning of this? What is the meaning? 'Cause we're in love. It don't mean it. For you, my heart is bleeding. I'm needing your touch. You got me in my feelings.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.